This is Eric with DelCast Odds and Ends, and today I'm going to show y'all how to protect your comics and your cards, and to keep them from getting messed up. You know, the value of your cards and your comics depend on how well you treat your comics and your cards. So I'm going to show y'all how to do that, and this will just not only be good for y'all, but it'll be good for us as well, because every card and every comic that you receive from me will always be in a protective bag with the backboard, and the comics the same. They'll have the little small clear bag and then the protective case right behind that. I'll show you all both. I'm going to start with the comic first and then move on to the card next. First thing you want to do is use gloves. You don't want the oils from your hands to touch the comics, because those comics are very easily can be messed up by the oil that comes from your hands. So definitely put on gloves. Put these gloves on. They're really cheap. You can buy them from any store. So they're, you know, they just keep the oils of your hands from damaging the comics and the cards. Mostly the comics more than the cards, but the cards can also mess up, I guess. So the first thing you want to do, get this backboard here. You want to get the bag. Now there's two edges on this bag. There's the longer edge right here, and then the insert where the comic and the board is going to be going into. So go ahead and put this backboard in there. Always pull it where the backboard is kind of bent outward for the comics. It just makes it look prettier whenever you put it on something. You're going to slide that in there like this. Okay, so this is ready for the comic. I put it in backwards just because whenever you, like, let's say if you want to put it, you know, on display, you want it to kind of seal that and keep the air from coming into the comic. The air over time will also damage the comics, so just be wary of that. Now, be very gentle with your comics. You can read it, just be very gentle. You don't ever want to mess up the spine. The spine is this back part that all the comics are, you know, put in there with the staple, and then also the edges and the corners. This is a really good quality comic. It's from 1992, and as you can see, it looks nearly awesome. If you look inside, comic book is actually in really good condition. It looks like it's had a little bit of yellowing over the years, but it's in really good condition. So to keep it protected, what you want to do is you want to put the comic in here. You got to be very gentle. Now, this is what I do. Y'all can, you know, read about other people that do this, but I'll show you how I do it. I always bend the center because it doesn't damage anything, and I always put it in with the open corners up before the spine, because you want all the pages to be put in there first so they won't get bent or crushed or anything. Once you got it up there, you got it done. And then what you want to do, I don't have the tape with me, but you just put 2 strips of tape. Scotch tape is good. That's what I usually use. And painter's tape is actually better because it comes off and comes back on easily. But I'll just put one here, put one there, and then when you flip it upside down, it'll sit and it'll look beautiful. And this was just protected. Now, if you bring it to CDC'd, they'll actually make it, you know, the quality go even. They'll fix it as best they can to make it the quality even better. But this right here is the best way to do if you're doing from home. All right, so that's that comic. Now the cards are going to be a little more difficult just because they're smaller and they can get damaged really easy by the way you grab them. So usually what I do is I can either use my nails to pick it up, but you don't want to bend the edges, or you don't want to pull on that edge, or you can use that corner and just slide it and then pick it up like that. So just like the comic though, you want to go ahead and put this little thin bag. This is the thin little protective bag, and I'm going to put it actually upside down just like the comic. So I'm going to slide it in this way, and this is where you got to be really gentle with the corners, because it can mess up the card if you push it in there too hard. Just fiddle with it until it finally goes into it, and that's it. Don't push it hard or anything. Just do it kind of just as best you can. Now what you want to do is kind of pull on that little bag until I'm pulling it, so until this part is like all the way up into the back and it can't be opened. Now if you slide it out, it's going to come out from the bottom. But what I do next is I go ahead and I kind of bend these little this little piece right here. So you got to be gentle with it. You got to kind of bend the corners of this little bag over. What that does is just bends it over the actual card and not on the edges. Because if it goes on the edges, it can actually buff the edges, and you don't want to do that. So once you do that, let's go ahead and get the whole. Let's see if y'all can see this, but I'm just bending that as nicely and easily as possible. Just keep bending it around until it kind of starts to stay in the nook there, and then you're going to hold one of the corners as best you can. I'm going to start with this edge right here, and then you're going to get this hard case. This is basically how you're going to protect your card from getting damaged even worse, and also reduces the ability or the mess up if you drop water or anything in there. It won't be able to get into the card itself usually, especially with this type of card protector here. It sticks into the card, and that's why I like these. They're cheaper, but they're not as hard as the other ones. The hard ones, the hard ones, the cards tend to fall out of the hard case when that happens. So just, you know, slowly just put it in there. You don't have to shove it in there hard. So keep going up and down, and eventually it will go in there, because it's a brand new case. So you just kind of gotta work with it, and then eventually you'll get it in there. Now mine kind of messed up here, this little bag, so it'll happen. You just pull it back out, make sure those corners are tucked in really good, and then try it again. There we go. There we go. And now that this hard case is kind of opened up a little bit, just go ahead and move it around. You're not going to damage the card moving it side to side like I'm doing here. I'll bow it a little bit. Just be wary of the corners. And eventually, I swear, this is the part that always gets me, is that these cards are like a lot harder than the comics when it comes to this. Just kind of push it in there. I've never had this much issue. Alright, sorry guys. It's hard to do this while I'm looking through the camera and putting the card in. Alright, so there's 3 times the charm, right? Yep, there we go. So finally, gotta make sure it's all the way in there though. I don't want it to be out too much. There we go. Come on. Almost there. There we go. Alright, so now you see how it's sealed. There's no, if it gets rained on or something, it won't kind of get into the water too much, but just be wary of that. Not just protect it. You don't want this card to get messed up, as well as the comic. So that there, guys, is how I would probably do your cards in your comics. They're cheap. These are cheap, and they protect your stuff. So I would definitely recommend to get these. Like these Ultra Pros, I bought them from Walmart, but you can get them from a comic book store or card store. Same with these. I use these silver ones, Silver Ages, because they're wider, and they allow for all the different kinds of comics to be put in here. These littler ones and the bigger, wider ones. So that's why I use these. These are really good for that. But that will be the end of this for y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this, and if y'all liked it, leave a like on my YouTube page, which is DelCast Odds and Ends, or you can also follow me at DelCast Odds and Ends on Instagram, and you can also watch my videos on Cuban Style Killer if y'all want. But until next time, guys, I'll see y'all later. I hope this was educational for y'all, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.